The fraudulent activities of Michael Saquella, aka Michael Paloma, in the Dream Round scam. Michael Saquella, also known by the alias Michael Paloma, is a former stock trader and filmmaker based in Mesa, Arizona. His criminal history is twofold, involving significant fraud both in the stock market and in the film industry. Saquella is perhaps most notorious for his involvement in the creation of the indie film Dream Round, in which he orchestrated a large-scale scam involving over $100,000 in investor funds. Saquella's notoriety began with his stock market fraud, where he was convicted by the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, for orchestrating a complex fraudulent scheme involving the manipulation of stock prices. He used various illicit strategies to inflate stock values, misleading investors, and defrauding them of millions. Following his conviction, Saquella was sentenced to prison for his stock market crimes. However, his involvement in scams did not end with the SEC case. Saquella later attempted to reinvent himself as a filmmaker, only to repeat the same fraudulent behavior in the entertainment industry, this time with the involvement of his girlfriend Tiger, who played a key role in deceiving investors during the production of Dream Round. In 2018, Saquella and his girlfriend Tiger launched Dream Round, a film that was touted as a groundbreaking indie production, promising investors an opportunity to be part of an exciting, potentially award-winning project. Saquella and Tiger successfully lured a number of individuals to invest substantial sums of money, many of whom had no experience in the film industry and were seeking an opportunity to profit from the burgeoning indie scene. The project appeared legitimate, with glossy promotional materials, an impressive pitch, and promises of high returns. Investors were assured that the film had secured distribution deals and would be showcased at major film festivals, offering them the chance to profit from the film's commercial success. However, behind the scenes, the entire operation was a carefully constructed scam. Saquella and Tiger intentionally mismanaged the funds, using the investors' money for personal expenses, lavish trips, and other non-project-related expenditures. While they assured investors that the production was moving forward smoothly, the film's actual production was fraught with delays, poor management, and little to no progress. A total of over $100,000 was funneled from investors under false pretenses. Many of the investors who came forward later described feeling misled and betrayed by Saquella and Tiger's promises. Investors who had entrusted Saquella with their money were shocked to learn that the funds intended for the film's production were not being used as agreed. Instead, Saquella used the capital for personal luxuries, including high-end restaurants, travel expenses, and even private parties. Receipts and financial records discovered during investigations showed that Saquella and Tiger had gone on extravagant vacations, using the investor funds to cover their personal expenses. One of the major selling points for the investors was Saquella's claim that the film had already secured distribution deals with major streaming platforms and would be submitted to prestigious film festivals. None of these claims were true. Despite claiming that Dream Round would be a festival darling, the film was never submitted to any major festivals, and no distribution deals were ever secured. Throughout the production of Dream Round, Saquella and Tiger continued to delay the project under the guise of unforeseen setbacks or budget constraints. Production dates were repeatedly pushed back, and when investors attempted to get updates, they were often met with vague responses or outright evasion. In many instances, they were simply ignored or told that the film's completion was just around the corner. Tiger, Saquella's girlfriend, was heavily involved in the scam, often acting as the point of contact for investors. She reinforced Saquella's promises and kept the illusion of progress alive. As the situation unraveled, Tiger was implicated in the fraud as well. She was found to have been directly involved in convincing investors to release additional funds under false pretenses, all while personally benefiting from the stolen capital. Following his conviction for stock fraud, Saquella's credibility had already been severely damaged. However, his entry into the film industry provided him with a fresh avenue to exploit others. As the Dream Round scam began to surface, many of the victims looked to legal channels to seek restitution, but the complex web Saquella had woven made it difficult for the authorities to take immediate action. In the aftermath of the film's failure, many investors were left financially ruined and emotionally distraught. The documentary potential of the Dream Round story began to surface, with some considering how Saquella's actions could be exposed through the lens of investigative journalism or even another film. His manipulation of both stock investors and film financiers underscored a consistent pattern of deceit and exploitation. Michael Saquella, using his dual personas of stock fraudster and indie filmmaker, left a trail of broken promises and ruined finances in his wake. His ability to con investors with charm, false promises, and deception is a textbook example of how fraudsters manipulate the trust of well-meaning individuals. The Dream Round scam, alongside his SEC conviction, paints a clear picture of an individual who is willing to exploit any system, be it financial markets or the film industry, for personal gain. Despite his criminal conviction, Saquella's involvement in these fraudulent activities has left deep scars on the lives of the people he deceived, and the broader film and investment communities must remain vigilant to avoid falling victim to individuals like him. Saquella and Tiger maintained constant communication with investors to create the illusion of progress. Regular updates, often crafted to sound professional and optimistic, were sent to investors, detailing supposed milestones like casting announcements, location scouting, and directors' vision meetings. These updates were carefully designed to create a veneer of legitimacy. In reality, none of these milestones occurred as described. For example, several investors were led to believe that major casting decisions had been made, with high-profile actors supposedly attached to the project. In truth, no actors were ever locked in, and casting calls were never even fully initiated. The production team that investors were told was assembled was simply a group of unpaid volunteers, many of whom were unaware of their supposed involvement. The continuous stream of updates and the perceived momentum convinced investors to release more funds, which were then misused for Saquella's personal gain. The financial records revealed that multiple payments made to suppliers and creative collaborators were in fact routed directly to Saquella's personal bank accounts. In their efforts to lure even more investors, Saquella and Tiger grossly inflated the film's projected budget and potential earnings. They claimed that Dream Round had a budget of over $2 million and that it was a high-concept thriller with global appeal. According to their pitch, the film would be sold worldwide to streaming platforms, ensuring lucrative returns. In reality, the entire budget was grossly misrepresented, and the true figure barely reached $100,000, the amount they initially scammed from investors. Even though Dream Round had little to no chance of achieving commercial success, Saquella used the inflated budget and global distribution promises to justify requests for more money, convincing investors that the project was on the verge of breaking into the international market. Victim testimonies. Many of the investors in Dream Round have shared heartbreaking testimonies about their experiences with Saquella and Tiger. These individuals, many of whom were small-time investors looking for an opportunity to break into the film industry, were blindsided by the depth of the deception. Investor A retired teacher, described how she was promised passive income from the film's distribution rights, which Saquella claimed were already in the process of being negotiated. She invested $25,000 in what she was led to believe was a sure thing. After months of waiting and receiving only vague updates, she became suspicious and started to investigate. By then, it was too late, and her money had disappeared into Saquella's personal accounts. Investor B, a small business owner, was convinced to invest $50,000 after attending a pitch meeting where Saquella and Tiger promised that Dream Round would be shown at Sundance and other prestigious festivals. He described being charmed by Saquella's charisma and reassured by Tiger's professionalism. Like many others, he eventually realized he was not only deceived, but his funds were used for personal expenses by the couple. The financial loss was particularly devastating for these investors who were not wealthy and saw their savings vanish without a trace. For many, the emotional toll was just as severe, as they struggled to come to terms with the fact that they had been scammed by someone they had trusted. The psychological toll. The scam took a significant psychological toll on the investors involved. For many, it wasn't just about losing money, but about losing trust in an industry they had once dreamed of being part of. The emotional distress from being manipulated by someone they saw as a mentor or a filmmaking professional has left lasting scars. Following the unraveling of the Dream Round scam, several investors took legal action, filing lawsuits against Saquella and Tiger for fraud, misrepresentation, and breach of contract. While the legal battle has been slow, it has raised awareness of Saquella's fraudulent activities within both the film industry and the broader investment community. In addition to these lawsuits, Saquella's prior conviction for stock market fraud was used as evidence of his pattern of deceptive practices. This history of financial crime made it easier for prosecutors to build a case against him for the Dream Round scam. Ultimately, Saquella was charged with multiple counts of securities fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy. Although the legal proceedings are ongoing, it is widely expected that he will face severe penalties, including restitution to investors, significant fines, and potentially more time in prison. Tiger, Saquella's girlfriend, has also been implicated in the scam. Though her exact role in the financial mismanagement is still under investigation, her direct involvement in scamming investors is undeniable. She played a central role in maintaining the illusion of the film's progress and assisting Saquella in convincing people to part with their money. Despite being less well-known than Saquella, Tiger's involvement in the scam has led to criminal charges, including conspiracy to defraud investors. She is currently under investigation, and there are indications that she may face charges similar to Saquella's, depending on the evidence that emerges during the ongoing trials. The Dream Round scandal has had a chilling effect on indie filmmakers in the Arizona and broader Southwest film industry. Independent filmmakers now find it more difficult to secure financing, as potential investors are understandably more cautious, wary of scams like the one perpetrated by Saquella. Trust has been eroded, and many legitimate filmmakers are now facing increased scrutiny when trying to raise funds for their projects. The case also highlights the vulnerability of everyday investors looking to diversify their portfolios into film and media ventures. Many investors who were drawn to the project due to the promise of high returns now face the reality of losing money to an individual they believed was trustworthy. The Dream Round scam serves as a warning about the risks of investing in high-risk industries like film without doing thorough due diligence. Michael Saquella's, aka Michael Paloma, fraudulent activities in both the stock market and the film industry have caused significant harm to investors, collaborators, and the integrity of the industries he targeted. His repeated scams illustrate how an individual can exploit the trust of others by using charm, manipulation, and deceit, leaving a wake of financial and emotional destruction. While his legal battles are ongoing, his case remains a stark reminder of the potential for fraud in any industry, whether it's finance or filmmaking, and the importance of due diligence for investors. Tiger's involvement underscores the notion that criminal enterprises can often be a joint effort. And as the investigation unfolds, it remains to be seen how the couple's actions will affect both their futures and the victims they exploited.